Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend just a little bit of time talking about cards from Lord of the Rings, the card game. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm Ted Bannock, and I love talking about cards.
Really?
Yeah. Looking at me like expecting me to say something.
Wow.
Like you expecting me as if I should maybe have mapped out what I was going to say.
There it is.
But
there it is.
Yeah,
right.
I don't have that plan, so.
Okay. Well, before we talk about the card today, Ted, how about we talk about how people can stay in contact?
Oh, that sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
So, sometimes once a week is not enough for Card Talk consumers. So, there's lots of ways to keep up to date here. We have obviously the podcast, which you're listening to right now. We're over on YouTube. Maybe you're watching us on the YouTube channel. That's cool. We also have a blog. Maybe you clicked on the link and went over from the blog to here. Matt keeps up with what we do over there. Thank you, Matt, for doing everything that you do over at the blog. It's like a one-man show over there. He's good. And then we also have Micah, who does Second Breakfast. And so, Micah, thank you for doing all the awesome things that you do with providing us playthroughs and things like that. And we also have a Patreon. If you want to give us a couple of bucks to keep the lights on here at the pod, we can do that. Patreon.com/cardtalk2018.
We'll use it for map design and production.
Map design and production. Yeah. So it's too late for the swag this year, but we're in full production mode with swag. So if you want to, if you want swag, join us, and we'll be able to get you next time we put out swag. So, but Ted,
hey,
tell us about the card.
Today's card is Maaap of Rhovanion. This appears in the Arid Mithrin Hero expansion or the Wilds of Rhovanion expansion, depending on which way you have purchased it and it's packaged. It is a one-cost lore attachment. It is item traded. You must attach to a Dale or a Scout character, limit one per character. It has a response after attached character commits to the quest. Place one progress on the active location.
Yeah, I mean, it turns your any character into a Lorien guide, which is a three-cost Sylvan character from the core set that spirit character that allows you to. You exhaust it and you put a progress on the active location. It's not quite a Northern Tracker, but, it's something.
It's something. It falls in the kind of realm that we've referred to as like pseudo questing, in essence, where it adds progress to something without directly giving you willpower, which there's value in that. I will be curious on your thoughts since you play it. You primarily play solo. You play a lot more solo than I do, certainly. So I'm very curious to see what your value is on this card's ability.
So this card is not one that I play a lot.
This is not a card I play. Next.
Yeah, right. Done. No, but I'll say this. And so many of the people out there that have been watching or, tuned into Card Talk, I've been playing my Dream Chaser campaign, right? And so, FFG released the new stuff, and they added the campaign stuff to the normal cycles, which, by the way, I love. I love the Angmar Awakened campaign a little more than I love the Dream Chaser campaign. But what I did is I took my Sylvan deck, and then I just added like a little bit of what am I trying to say? A little bit of location control Okay, so I
Editor
added,
love, location
yeah,
love. Yeah.
yeah. And so I added Lorien guides. I just talked about in
Good
the
choice.
open here.
Fits in the archetype.
You know, yeah, and it's 3 cost and Island of Mid Perils. You bring it back into your hand, and you have 3, and there's lots of ways to reduce cost. Whatever, it's not a Sylvan show. But and then I put Asphalot, 1 copy of Asphalot in the deck,
Okay.
because it can go on any Sylvan or Noldor. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be Glorfindel. So you're just getting
Right.
the one progress on a location. And then I added the Woodland Courier, which is a Sylvan that comes into play, and you put a 1 progress on a location, 2 if it's a forest, right? And so and that's not by any means a location control deck, but what it is it just, when you're playing solo, a lot of times you just need like a little bit more, right? Or you just need
Okay.
something, and Ted, you and I know that, you have something, you're playing 2-player, 3-player, and it's like, if we just had
One more.
of whatever, 1 more defense or 1 more attack or one, and so this is a
Yep.
way to get that playing solo when, when you don't have people to help you out. And while I don't play this playing solo, I do find cards that can help you not do the primary thing that your deck does is helpful. Now, the reason why I liked playing Valorian Guide and the Woodland Courier in my Sylvan deck is because they're Sylvans and they can do other things. To have 1 card slot that goes into a deck for this, and it doesn't do anything else, and it's limited to Dale or Scout. It's kind of like putting Asphalot in the deck that's doing other things. So it's like there may be space to have a copy of this just in case, but playing solo, if you're not committing to the, and I don't know, you can't win very much if you're committing to the whole just location control.
Sure.
So so I think that there's probably better ways to do location control when you're playing solo in whatever, and a lot of times you don't even care about location control. So that's where I'm going with it.
Okay.
Is that it's, I think it's, it's fine, but it's not great. The one thing that I will say is because it can go on a character, there's plenty of scout characters where this can go into, and it, Dale is great because Dale deals with the, player card attachments on characters, on allies and stuff like that. So that's good. But there's scout characters, like the one that comes to mind is the Mirkwood Explorer that I've done this on, because the Mirkwood Explorer allows you to collect resources and put them on your. It's just another way to, make the Mirkwood Explorer even better than what it is. It doesn't play into his ability where he collects the resources and then you get to dump them onto a location. But I guess it can, because you put 1 progress and then you can dump it, but he's got to commit. So, it's just another way to kind of, help the scouts do a thing. So anyways, that's my long-winded, very raspy response to to the map of raspy Vanion. But what's your take, Ted? You seem to be up on this card from our off-screen time.
You hit on some points that I'm actually glad you touched on. So in essence, you're getting 1 progress for 1 cost each turn. It's sort of equivalent to getting 1 willpower for 1. So to really get the value, you really want to just get more value out of this card. And one of the biggest benefits that you mentioned is in Dale deck. Certainly, it's really about having the right target, right?
Right.
So somebody who's always questing and interacting with locations are very good targets. 2 heroes that come to mind are Halden, which we recently did a show on, because he's in lore and he's always questing and he's a scout. Another great scout hero is Idrian, because she also readies when location leaves play explored, and she can quest for 2. So she can quest, helps you churn through locations, which in turn helps you ready her. So those are 2 really, really great targets. Without going into the Dale archetype, which is probably I think the next best place to play it. Because if you're playing Brand, leadership Brand, that is, like, you're putting, by equipping him with this, if it's his first attachment, you're drawing a card, and then you're giving him +1 willpower. So now he's questing for 3 and putting progress on a location. Like, that's a lot. That's almost like doubling. It's almost like doubling his willpower. Like,
Right.
it's in essence 4 progress he can net onto something. So those are where you get the most bang for your buck. You mentioned the Lorien guide, which it's kind of fun to put this on the Lorien guide because then
Right.
it just doubles their ability.
Right. It's a scout.
Is,
Right.
yeah, is it like especially strong? No. Is it a lot of resources? Kinda. 2 cards, 4 resource, to an ally who could die. Fun. So there's a couple other heroes too that are scouts. Heck, even Hirgon's a scout in tactics, right? And his ability triggers after he quests successfully. And this doesn't really help you do that, but he's always questing, right? He's
Right.
So you always want to do that with him. So those are a couple heroes. Landwin's another good target too because her abilities to boost her willpower are ready.
And I think in general, and Ted, again, you're probably more, in tune with this, but I think in general, the goal in any game and any player count is typically like you want to get through a location every turn, right?
Yes.
Like I mean, yeah, of course there's corner cases where that's not the case, but in 90% of the games you play, every turn you want to make sure that you clear the active location. And
Yes.
and if you don't, you're more likely to have bad things happen, right? Like, yes, you can hit location lock, without, in multiplayer especially, without clearing an active location every turn, even while clearing an active location every turn. But in solo, you can get in location lock if you don't clear active location. All of a sudden you miss it by 1 or 2, and you're like, crap, I can't get there. So I mean, this just helps you do the thing that is kind of ingrained in this game, in a way,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. True. And that's exactly what you want to do, making sure you get through that location. Yes, is it better to just straight up build willpower? Yes, because there are some locations in the game that are immune to player card effects, and we'll mention that this doesn't work against it because you can't target that location with this effect. So if you can just get 1 more willpower, you're most of the time better off doing that. Again, there's circumstances where certain scenarios punish you for having allies in play, so you want to get more value out of less characters, and this is a way to do that. But also, it's vice versa. There's a couple scenarios that punish characters for having items and attachments on them. So, and this kind of punishes you for that. So it can be a little bit scenario dependent. It's pretty much meant, like, it goes on Dale and Scouts, and those are the best characters. Like, generally, those are the best targets for this card anyway. And at Dale deck, you get a lot of mileage out of this card because you're getting benefits for the card just being an item by itself, right? And then the item also does something.
Right. Now, is there something? What do I want to like? I feel like there's something that allows you to like manipulate items. Like, is that bartering
are you thinking of bartering?
Like, or Long Lake Trader?
Yeah, so
but that still doesn't really doesn't get you anywhere, I don't think. So that's I don't know.
Not anywhere crazy. Yeah,
right.
Like Long Lake Trader lets you move this card around if you get a better target for it. which there's reasons to do that in a Dale deck.
Mhm.
And if you do happen to lose it, it's an item, or if you have to discard a card from your hand and you discard this, you can put it back in your hand from an Airborne Hammersmith. Lets you return an attachment. You can reforge this card if it gets discarded, which is a spirit event. So it being an item, you could put it in a Burglar's Turn deck, right? It would be
because a Burglar's Turn deck is limited to the things that you can put in it, right? It can't just be any attachment, right? It has to be certain types of attachments.
Is it a certain types of attachment? Okay.
Oh, geez.
Maybe
now
you're
I'm
right.
going to have to look it up.
Now let's look it up so we don't look like fools.
Oh, yeah. No, you keep talking about all the things that are wrong. And
okay. So yeah, you want to make sure to get the benefit of it being an item. And again, just the Dale characters and scouts are going to essentially do that. But
right, Burglar's Turn is items and artifacts only. It's not you can't, but your deck cannot include attachments.
Right. So you could include this if you have a target for it. Right, you could include this as one of the Burglar Turn contracts.
Yeah, but that's
items.
Again, I don't think that that's the best use of it. Like there's 14 better items and artifacts that can go into a Burglar's Turn deck.
Sure.
Of course, it's situational. But
yeah, I'm just saying you can. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's kind of all it is. It gets you, you put on a character who's committing to a quest, you get that progress if it's not immune. So play it in Dales, play it in Scouts, because that's all it can go on anyway. So
yeah,
there you go.
Okay, well, Ted, in case you may have forgotten, or maybe you're new and you don't know, we have a highly scientific yet arbitrary system where we rank a card.
Let's talk about that work for this card for a second.
No. And it's not even highly scientific. It may be highly scientific.
So
arbitrary.
I will actually say that I think of all the places. So a quick point of art and theme before you go into that. I just thought it'd be funny to interrupt you. Is the Rhovanion is? I'm wondering if it's my favorite area of Middle Earth. I want to say that it is. The area of Rhovanion is. Right. I like it a lot. And there's a lot of quests in the game that take place in that area. So I think it's a very thematic card. I think it's why I'm a little bit more drawn to it. I just wanted to say. Yeah, I mean, like a map of the Wilderlands, a place. It's a lot where a lot of adventures have happened in Middle Earth. Bilbo traveled through it in The Hobbit. A lot of stuff. It
includes Mirkwood and
Randall. Legolas. So it's got a lot of thematic.
Yeah, Erebor, I think, is still part of Rhovanion.
Right.
So there's a lot of places that feel like home. And actually, when you look at the map of Rhovanion, it's actually a
map of Rhovanion.
Yeah, you look in and it's got the Misty Mountains, and then it's got the, so I mean, not that I expected it to not be, but like you can clearly see that the map of Rhovanion is a map of Rhovanion. That's good.
And it's kind of one of the things I think hits on like a little token theme is, you expect like exploration and maps of Middle Earth, right? And this card kinds of brings that into a card a little bit, which I just personally enjoy. Like, what's going to help me? Like, a map will help me in my adventure, right? Like, it just kind of hits that thing from that.
Yeah,
fantasy.
There's nothing like battle-y or this looks the artwork looks like somebody studying, making the map.
Yeah, by candlelight.
It's
a
not
quill.
like,
there's like a mug of
it's not like a
water.
Yeah, it's not like a
ale.
It's not like a tavern sort of thing. It's definitely a very studious study card. It's I can imagine that on the other side of this card is peace and thought with Bilbo sitting by the fireplace. The fireplace sort of thing, at least that's what I imagine.
So I just wanted to mention that little tidbit about it before we.
Absolutely. I mean, and rightly, you interrupt to make sure the people get what they deserve out of this show. So, Ted, how about now?
Oh, we can want to ring it up and see how much this map
the
costs?
map of Rhovanion.
Yep.
Okay, so if you don't know, maybe you're new. We have a highly scientific yet arbitrary system where we rank a card on a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is the best art in the game. No, I'm just kidding. Where 1 is the best card in the game and 10 is the worst card in the game. And so, Ted, I went first last week, so, why don't you let us know what you think of this card this week.
Look, getting to your locations, like I said, is very important. The card synergizes very well with the traits that it's specific to, the Dale and Scout traits. And with that, it makes it very, very fun when you get the extra benefits out of it. Its initial effect is kind of just plain, like 1 progress, done. Like it just does that. Not too exciting on its own, but can be exciting when you pair it in combat with some things. So I'm just gonna give it a 5, kind of right in the middle. It's, like I said, not terribly exciting to play, but it can help a few other heroes and it can help a few other traits, specifically, the Dale and Scouts, kind of propel a little bit.
Yeah, this is just like a support card, and it helps you. It gives you another option to do things that other cards do. And so, I think that, again, playing solo, I think the best use case is in a Dale deck because it gives you just another option for attachments that can go on to characters. And so, and triggers all the Dale glory. And because it can go on to characters. But yeah, I mean, there's scouts that can be targeted. But that said, again, playing solo, if I'm not playing a Dale deck, I don't necessarily.
It's not going to hold as much.
Yeah, I don't.
Right.
I don't.
Man,
you want the allies that can, come into play for 2 or 3 that can put the progress on the location, and then do more for you. Continually putting 1 progress is great, and I love that incremental part of the game. But if your strategy to win is to get out my 3 maps of Rhovanions and put 3 progress on locations, I don't know if that's the winning strategy for you. So, so I don't have my map of Rhovanion deck flying around anywhere, so, I would have to give this in the lower half of the ranking. Sure. I'd have to give this like a 6. I thought about a 7, but I do like these sorts of things because it's repeatable. It's 1 after 1 after 1 after 1 after 1 after 1. So you can, by the end of the game, you may have put 8 progress on locations that otherwise wouldn't have gotten you there. So, there is that incremental, thing that this game is totally known for. Very rarely do you get a time where you're putting 28 progress on a location, and it's always the when you need like the extra 1 or the extra 2 somewhere, and that's what this game is really good at making you make decisions about. So 6 is my ranking, and I'm sticking to it.
Okie doke.
Yeah, so there you have it, Map of Rhovanion. And so join us again next week as we talk about more cards from the game. Have a great day.
Do you love the content? Here's what you can do to stay connected. Become a patron. The money collected through Patreon goes into keeping the lights on here at the podcast. We love our patrons, and you can join at many different levels. Visit patreon.com/cardtalk2018. You can subscribe to us, whether you're watching our YouTube channel or you're listening to us in your favorite podcatcher. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications of all our new episodes. Didn't know we were an audio podcast? Find us by searching Card Talk to get access to our 120 plus regular episodes. Didn't know we were a video channel? Find us by searching Card Talk LOTR LCG on YouTube. And there you can find not only our regular episodes, but you can find our bonus playthroughs and other content related to the game. Want to get a hold of Ted, Grant, or myself? Feel free to email the podcast at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.